The Lamzu Atlantis is one of the most in-demand mice of 2022, so much so that a lot of sites have had trouble keeping it in stock. But thankfully, supply has started to catch up to demand, so today we're going to take a look at the Lamzu Atlantis. The Lamzu Atlantis turned a lot of heads when it was released for getting a lot of things right. It offered a bunch of extra features, a great quality mouse at a competitive price. This is one of the few mice that seems to get everything right, and the only question you should really be asking yourself is whether or not the grip style will fit you, which can be a little tricky. This is a claw grip mouse first and foremost. It says so right on the box. And speaking of that box, it really is a sight to behold. I don't really see this unboxing experience pretty much anywhere. The box folds out to give you your mouse and dongle on the right side, and on the left side you get a principal's ransom in extras. You get a nice protective bag, an extra set of feet, a full set of grips, a USB extender, and a really great cable that has the most aggressive angle on it. You'll likely not be using this cable except to charge, but if you do choose to play in charge, you can be sure that this cable ain't touching your mat. Anything a person could want is offered up here, and it really makes you question why other companies aren't offering the same amount of extras. We've started to see grip tape be included with mice like the Viper V2 and the Logitech G Pro X Superlight, but quite frankly, Lamzu kind of makes fools of every other company. Drawing comparisons to the Endgame Gear XM1, this is absolutely a claw grip mouse. I tried to fingertip grip it and palm it, but with palm, it's kind of difficult given the back slope kind of arches your fingers over the top, and fingertip kind of was too hard to get a grip on it. This isn't really a problem, as Lamzu very much advertises this mouse as a claw grip mouse. But given the popularity, I feel like some people who might not use claw grip might want to try it out and might be disappointed when they pick it up. If you don't like claw grip and you have no intentions of using a claw grip, you might want to look elsewhere, as sad as that really is. The measurements can be a bit deceiving. It has a length of 123 millimeters, a height of 38 millimeters, and a grip width of about 58 millimeters that flares out at the back to about 66 millimeters. I assumed this was going to be like a medium-sized mouse based on the measurements, but I found it really felt more like a large mouse in my hand, something like the Death Adder opposed to something like the Viper or the Viper V2. It is quite a bit different than something like the Cooler Master MM712, which is another claw grip centric mouse. The MM712 is quite a bit shorter, so it allowed me to make very easy micro adjustments while in my hand, which really isn't something I could accomplish with the Lamzu Atlantis. Given that it's quite a bit longer, it kind of just sits in the back of my palm and doesn't allow me to move it around too much. They are able to keep the weight at what seems to be becoming the industry standard, 55 grams, but keeping a closed shell intact while going with a highly decorated bottom that, quite frankly, looks better than the top of most other mice. The transparent bottom allows you to see directly into the mouse and find that there is very little there. There is practically zero unnecessary material in the mouse. The PCB itself appears to be hyper-engineered to allow for zero wasted space. If it isn't integral to the operation of the mouse, it ain't here. This mouse feels like a spaceship. I went with the Miami Blue colorway because look at it, but all of the Lamzu Atlantis colorways are really great. The closed shell is a little bit different than what I normally see. I usually see a lot of the very lightly textured mice like the Viper V2, but I feel like over time what this means is it's not going to show wear or get very shiny like other mice, but only time is going to tell on that one. I have pretty dry hands and it was still a very grippy mouse for me. As mentioned, the bottom of the mouse is a work of art. And while you can't see it while you're using the mouse, it speaks to Lamzu's really high attention to detail. In fact, the DPI indicator and the DPI button are built into the design on the bottom of the mouse, and quite frankly, I didn't know that's what they were when I first saw them. It was a little bit confusing, but after I figured it out, I was just shocked at the amount of detail put into the bottom of the mouse. But the detail isn't purely aesthetic. Along the bottom, we get two very thick and pretty decent sized PTFE feet. Mouse 1 and 2 are incredibly crispy thanks to the Hawano Blue Shell Pink Dot switches, which are a fan favorite. The triggers themselves feel pretty solid. There's a little bit of play, but it's not something I'm personally worried about. For the scroll wheel, again, we get the fan favorite TTC Gold encoder, which is very common these days, that allows for a very distinct yet smooth scroll wheel and a very satisfying click. You got USB-C for charging, and as mentioned, a beautiful charging cable, as well as about 70 hours of battery life thanks to the 300 milliamp hour battery inside. For a sensor, we get the brand spanking new Pixar 3395, which has a maximum DPI of 26,000, which is nonsense, but it's worth mentioning because we don't often see the most advanced and newest sensors placed into budget-friendly gaming mice. A lot of the cheaper wireless mice tend to use the 3370, which is fine, but it's just nice to see. As flagship companies start pushing closer and closer to that $200 price point, we've started to see these smaller brands release mice closer to the $100 price point that are offering a lot of value for a wireless gaming mouse. It's always so easy to call these mice budget wireless gaming mice, when they're really not. They're just as good as their competitors like Razer and Logitech. This mouse shares a lot in common with the likes of the Pulsar X2, the Endgame XM1. I think Lethal has a mouse that shares a very similar shape, but Lamzu really is standing out with their attention to detail and focus on providing as much as is humanly possible for the incredibly reasonable price of $90. I don't know if they came at this like they had something to prove, but they really did. Not everybody is going to enjoy the Atlantis. If you don't use a claw grip, or if you don't have larger hands and you can palm grip this mouse, you might want to pass on this one, which is unfortunate because this mouse is really, really great. I know Lamzu is working on a smaller version of the Atlantis, and my hope is that with that mouse, a lot more people are going to enjoy the quality that Lamzu provides. I hope we see an ambidextrous mouse from them. I hope we see an ergo mouse from them. I cannot wait to see what Lamzu does in the future. And if you're a claw grip player, I highly suggest checking this mouse out. It is really worth it. I did place an order for the glass skates that they offer, and they look incredible, although I haven't had a lot of time to mess around with them, but I'm looking forward to giving them a shot. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please click that like button. Or if you want to see what else I'm doing, please click that subscribe button. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you all in the next video.